There we go. And
so then I pulled my pants up and hi.
Oh yeah. Thank God we have this view of Glenn. Because if you saw the view we had before we went live, God help us. Listen,
it was my best side.
You are listening to Dungeons, Dragons, and Discourse. It's part of
Triple D
Tavern Chat Podcast. I don't want to call it network because it's just really one stream or one feed. But hey,
you are the king of all gaming media. Okay.
No. Only if gaming media is like really like yay big and small. In which case,
you are the Howard Stern of role playing.
That's not something that I really want to have.
Good job, Eric.
So just so you know, we have the guys from Biggus Geekus, which I'll actually tell you who those guys are. And one of them is, well, I was going to say Randy, but apparently it's and those guys.
And those guys.
Okay.
And those guys. So,
I am and those guys.
Right.
Yes, because that's the kind of show that we like to have. Now, now you can see, put the names to everybody, and
there we go.
Most of the parts is and those guys. For those of you at home that don't know the inside joke that's going on right now,
it has to do with another show.
Glenn's never going to live it down. Joe will not let him.
But Biggus Geekus has been a gaming podcast out there that Glenn actually is the one that pointed me in their direction. Right before, well, yeah, right, but you pointed me in the direction right before. I was like, oh wow, somebody left me a voicemail of multiple parts. It's got to be Joe the lawyer, because nobody but Joe will leave me multiple parts. I'll go, oh, it isn't Joe.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, this is the Biggus Geekus podcast. and as those guys are pointing up on the screen, yes, it was Randy. So Glenn and I talked about it, and it's like, all right, these guys have talked about the OSR on their podcast, and they are not necessarily OSR gamers.
Hey, Epi.
You are certainly people that have a feeling of the pulse of the OSR, but you're not immersed in it like I guess I have been.
Yeah, that was my first bone I wanted to pick with them.
Uh-oh.
Oh, there's going to be a lot more, buddy.
I played when all those games were babies.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We played.
You graduated. I got left back, dude.
Yeah, we graduated.
I listened to your.
We're so far beyond.
Wait a minute. These guys aren't OSR and they're okay, yeah, I guess that can happen.
Well, Joe and I played. Dude, we started with the Red Box, and we played the crap out of first edition. Played you can't see it, but I got tons of Planescape stuff. We were big into second edition. Joe went to the military, and I think he still played second edition forever. And so he got into those black books, the skills and powers and all that gobbledygook. And then we transitioned to third. So unlike you guys, we just kept going. I think maybe, I don't know if it was habit or boredom. We're like, dude, let's see what they got going next. And dude, we love third now. We did. I got to admit, it might be my favorite edition. I think Joe would say for sure it's his.
Pretty much. So
this comes from a guy who's played the chair of third edition.
My favorite part about third edition is no Thaco.
Oh, come on.
Listen, I had to comment on Dragon Magazine. So that I didn't like that. I like the podcast. Don't get me wrong. I like the Thaco Hammer podcast.
Yeah, it is a great podcast.
I thought it was cool.
But it's funny, because you guys moved on to third edition, and now I'm gonna say, when I stopped playing back in end of February of first weekend of March back in '97, our last game session, we were playing with the Skills and Powers alternate rules from 2E.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened was, for me at the time, I graduated from the police academy, and my schedule went from pretty much weekends off to, all right, Wednesday, Thursday are going to be your weekends for the next year. Oh, and you're working 5:30 at night to 2 o'clock in the morning.
Oh,
so the gaming group ended. It wasn't that they kept on going without me. I was hosting the games anyway at my house, so I stopped playing shortly before 3rd edition hit. So 3rd edition was something I got all excited about when I saw it, and I bought the. I will admit that I got the that early PDF that was swimming around the internet before 3rd edition came out officially.
I don't remember that.
It was like somebody got like a beta printer proof of it. Yeah. So I had that. I was all excited, and I was so excited that I was checking out all the VTTs back in the early aughts. And if you know what the VTTs looked like back in the early aughts, things like Screen Monkey, if you've never seen it, you're probably best off for never having seen it. Klug, Klug was 8-bit graphics, pretty much.
Goodness.
It looked like it was written for DOS. So I had high hopes, but really nothing happened until, I don't know, 2008, 2009. I got back into gaming via Fantasy Grounds 2. When I met my wife, God bless her, she put up with that shit. Like, sorry, hon, we can't hang out this Saturday night when we're dating because I'm a geek and I got to go home and game via virtual tabletop.
You got to have priorities, Eric. You have to have priorities.
Jeez. God help.
She loved that, didn't she?
Oh no, she did. She encouraged it, and she encouraged the blog. She encouraged all this shit. I have no idea why. I guess she figures, hey, if he's occupied at home, he's not getting something stupid outside the home. But when I came back to gaming, I pretty much lost out in 3rd edition. So 4th edition was pretty much coming into focus at that point, and it was like, hey, there's this game called Osric and Labyrinth Lord, and it's the old rules cleared up and not looking as Gygaxian prose filled as the older rules. I think I like this.
Oh, come on, you didn't like the old milieu? That's where I first heard that word, was in Gygax.
Does Gygax have a bad name with the OSR?
Oh, no, I don't think so.
No. He has a very good name with the OSR, but the issue, I think, is as I got older, there's a few things. First off, my eyesight sucks. So some of those earlier books are so condensed in their type, kind of like. Mm-hmm. But stuff that as I grew up on, as I think I started gaming when I was 12, and I was right with the AD&D, the DMG, the Player's Handbook. So you jumped into that, and you forced yourself through it, and you kept that dictionary nearby to look up words, and of course it was Gygax, so there were words that weren't in your standard dictionary. So then what you had to do is figure it out from the context and how it's being used, and that was great for the time. And there was something very magical about that. As an older gamer, I was looking to return to the magic of gaming without necessarily getting confused by as a quote adult gamer. I look back at the DMG with my current eyes, the 1st edition Dungeon Master's Guide, and I'm like, it's a beautiful book, man, but what a messy piece of shit. He crammed everything, every possible alternate rule type of resolution he could find and slammed it in there. The Player's Handbook is much better organized, in my opinion. But the DMG was just like cram it all in and let it all land as it will. And that's great when you're when the whole thing is magical, and it was magical, and I loved that. But I just wanted the game, and I could pick up something like Swords and Wizardry and go, wow, this is how we ran AD&D 1st edition after dropping weapon speed, segments for spells, weapon versus AC.
Versus armor class.
Yeah, I mean,
did you make? So I heard you say that before in a podcast. You drop segments for spells. So as a GM, I'm thinking. So if it's a wizard's turn, he just gets his spell off. That's how you guys roll.
Yeah, we did without. Listen, I spent the summer. Yep, and I spent the summer where we gamed 5-6 days a week, and I was doing 90% of the game mastering, and I was running with by the book with segments, disruption, weapon speed, which I still didn't understand, so it kind of didn't really. I ran with it, but without understanding it, it made no difference because it wasn't really impacting. But the combat took so long when every round you had to break it into segments and then go, okay, it's missile weapons, then spells, then I'm up against right, then segments.
Like
yeah, and it's just like, and then it's melee, but if you're casting and your spell takes 2 segments to cast, and you get hit during that 2 segment span, your spell will be disrupted. Oh wow! But I only had a spell as a first level caster.
Don't remind me.
I don't mind Vancian magic. I actually like Vancian magic. I know. I heard. I heard a little bit about the issue there.
I have the right opinion. Just to let you know.
I have the right opinion for me, and that's all that matters, really. I happen to like Vancian magic. However, when you have spell interruption, I really think it makes Vancian magic fail. If it was all right, well, your spell fail, make a saving throw, and your spell fails to go off. All right, maybe. And you still keep the slot. Or maybe you can make a saving throw to keep the slot, but that wasn't there. And honestly, for us, house ruling was what rule can I remove and keep it from breaking. Like we could remove spell interruption and all that crap, and the game didn't break. But if you made up new rules and you tried to insert it, that's when you were like, we didn't call it house ruling. It's like, this is Eric's rules for the game. We're spending a summer where we're not counting experience points. It's just one session, one level.
Dude.
Right. Dude.
I would have liked that.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. Shadzar just reminded me of something. Did you play with a collar? Did you ever play with a collar?
Well, no, once. Once. We played with a collar once, and me and a couple of my friends, we were in high school, and we were invited to a college game in the neighborhood. I don't know how we got invited because I didn't know these guys. But we got invited, and we got there, and there's 3 of us, and there's already like 8 or 9 people sitting around this table in a living room. Some people were sitting on the floor. So I was like, holy shit. That's a lot of people. I mean, and they had a caller. Also, we were first level in a party of everybody was nearly name level.
Dude.
Needless to say,
what did they call you in there to carry their stuff?
I was going to say, minion, hold my sword.
Pretty much. So,
and the when you ruined the dungeon with rock to mud?
No, that's what I had. That was the convention game at NYU where I was told never to return.
That's really? No. I thought that was a great move.
What's that?
Tell that, Eric. That's sweet. I've heard it on this podcast. That's good.
Okay, so actually, my same 2 friends. But by the way, the caller thing sucked because we couldn't get a word in edgewise, and we were noobs, so we weren't allowed to say anything. So
right.
But we went to NYU for a gaming convention. The first gaming convention I went to, I think I was 19. My friend Andrew was 19. Lenny was 17. And it was also my first real interaction with a New York City police officer. So we got off the train, and this is Harlem in the mid-'80s. And we have a map, which really doesn't tell you shit. There was no GPS back then. It's like, oh, there's a cop. Oh, the cop, hey, excuse me, officer. He looked at us. We don't look like locals in the neighborhood. He's like, yes. He's like, yeah, we're trying to get to, Columbia University. It's at Columbia. We're trying to get to Columbia University. He goes, all right, well, really, that's just due west. And you're like, oh, okay, because you get off the wrong train. You should have gotten off on the one train. I'm like, all right, well, we don't take the train off. He goes, all right. Well, cut through Morningside Park. Actually, no. Go south 2 blocks to 110th Street and cut across on the street. If I send you through the park, I'm gonna have to answer a call.
Holy crap, dude! Talk about tough side of town.
Yeah. Oh, and I got promoted in 2002, and where'd they send me? The same precinct.
Oh,
in any case, it was a bit better then because Columbia, it cleaned up over the intervening like 15 years. So we get to the convention, and we're playing. It's a high-level first edition adventure, and I can't remember much about the adventure except that it was. I mean, it made Tome of Horrors sound like it was child's play. It was meant to kill the PCs and be rough, but they gave you people with all these great things, and they gave me a druid. And I was always like, what the fuck good is a druid in a dungeon, right?
Yeah.
Druids
None.
right. So, but I'm like name level, like 14th, 15th level. I'm like, so I don't have much to do so I'm going through the book, and I'm looking, and I went, oh, rock to mud. I have this on my sheet. And I'm reading the description. I went, area of effect. And I went,
holy crap.
Oh, shit.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm figuring out the area of effect. I'm like,
Huge.
if I do this right, I can literally just open up like 3 or 4 levels below us. I could just literally slam it, and then I'll dispel it. So
straight to the Omega room.
And everything below us is going to get killed and get encased in this mud that's now going to be rock.
And you get all the XP.
Yeah. So I'm gonna.
Yeah.
I cast rock to mud to the DM. Now we're playing with it's my 3 friends, and the rest of the guys are all like Columbia students, and they're like, DM's like, what? So one of the players goes to me, casting rock to mud. I'm like, yeah. Is that what you were writing down stuff? I'm like, yeah. He goes, can I see that? Yeah. He goes, oh shit, this is gonna be good. So DM's like, what do you mean this is gonna be good? Yo, kid, tell him, man. I'm like, yeah, I cast rock to mud, but I go and whatever. He was like, but I wanted to. The area of effect. I want it whatever, like 20 feet wide and like 30 feet deep, but the rest of it I want going down. He goes, going down. Well, it's cubes, right? So I want the rest of my area of effect going down. Well, how far down? I don't know. I think the way this works out, I think it's like 80, 90 feet. He's like, what?
At least.
And he goes, I go, yeah. So he looks at his sheet, right? And he goes, all right, fuck this. The game's over. All right. So, and I went, and so I'm like, holy shit, man. That's great. I defeated the dungeon. DM turns to my friend Andrew, goes, hey, you ever want to play with a real gaming group? You can come to the Columbia game days. And I'm just like, really? Like, and I'm thinking, I just defeated the dungeon. No, I fucked up somebody's. So I was just like,
I think you don't want to play with air like that anyway.
I think it was 2E days. I played. I was big into Ravenloft for a while, and I had like a lot of the modules. And I read Web of Illusion. I don't know if you guys know that one. It's got Rakshasa as the main villain. You're between 7th and 9th level. Well, the main caster, the cleric or the druid, like you, had Rock to Mud because it was 9th level, and he could cast 5th level spells. I believe that's right. He had something, but he basically went to Arajani, he's a Lord of Ravenloft. I don't know if you guys know about the Ravenloft rules. They have domains and they're powerful.
Yeah. I used to run stuff in it back 2E days, but I haven't opened up my books probably since then.
Right. So usually a Lord of Ravenloft, you have like one way you can kill them in a story.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't do it, you're screwed. Right. He uses Rock to Mud, brings the dude's castle down. Because he did it horizontally, which basically took the bottom half of the castle out. And I'm like, well, it crumbles. And now it caused him to fall down, and the Rakshasa came out. Now, what was funny, he was like 9th level. The rest of the group was like 5th. So they literally had like no spells to hurt this Rakshasa because you had to be, it was 8th level or higher, I believe, spells.
Something like that.
Yeah. And I brought him out, and I'm like, okay, let's rumble. And he was beat down, but they couldn't hurt him because he needed +3 or better weapons. And I was like, this is impossible. And anyway, I'm just laughing because when you said that, I thought immediately of that adventure. You got to roll with it as a GM. If a player does something ingenious, just let it happen, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I should have thought. It was my first time playing a druid. I knew. Listen, when you played back in the '80s and you were in your teens, and you had a choice of like studying for class at home and doing your homework, or reading your player's handbook or your DMG for the 19th time to try to squeeze some other information out of it. You did it, right? And phone calls were. I
did my homework.
Yeah. Okay. Sure you did.
I was a nerd, dude. No, dude, I did.
I was a nerd too, but my nerddom was maximum output for minimum input.
Roger.
What is the if I could put all my effort into it and get a 95, or put no effort into it and get an 85, I'll take the 85 and walk away happy.
I'm a professional.
It's when you had to put effort in to get an 80. When effort was an 80, then that was a problem. I had one math class, intermediate algebra. No, 11th grade math. Had it in 10th grade because I did well in the placement test, and I got a 29 in the midterm. My friend Andrew, same Andrew, got a 35. The joke was, together we still failed with a 64.
That's what I teach, Eric. I teach math.
Hey.
So. God bless you.
It's good times.
Hey, I was a history major. Can you tell?
That's all right.
One thing I wanted to address, and this is what made me say, why don't we all do this together instead of me putting like 5 separate messages on there?
Yeah.
Was you guys said that old school D&D sucked at lower levels, and I'm here to say I'm not going to disagree with that.
No, I'm shocked.
See, now I will disagree. I
enjoy the lower levels anyway, because everybody who's played any grognard who plays OSR know the sweet spots from like 4th or 5th to say 8th or 9th, maybe 12th. That middle range right there, that's the sweet spot. That's why a lot of these newer games, like Astonishing Swordsman, it goes up to level 12.
Right.
Because they know once you get to that sweet spot, you want to stop.
Joe's a high-level fanatic.
I want to be level 30, man. I want to keep.
Why not? It's like not all of the games had many rules, especially the early ones for when you got past those mid levels. It was just a hit point or two, and just get 1 million experience points a level or some ridiculous thing like that. But I just if you got 20 levels that your class can go to in the book, why not try to do that?
That's why
Why stop? Because what happens is you stop, you go back, and you get up a few levels, and you stop, and you go back, and you get up a few levels, and you stop and go back. It's just kind of, you play like 1st to 5th level 1 million times, and I know these levels really well.
Mechanically.
But that's it. Well, so that's what it is. It sucks more because I've played them so many times. You know the deal. You've played every class. You played every race, and except Druid.
Because nobody took a Druid, and then Tui, I always wanted to play the Bard, but I was mostly the GM, man. I was like, I like Bards. Bards, the jack of all trades. Listen, you're talking to the person who wrote Swords and Wizardry Light,
right,
for levels 1 through 3, and then came back with Jane Spawn and did Continual Light through level 7. And I was ended at level 6, but Bill Webb was like, I like this idea, but I want 4th level spells. So you gotta go to level 6.
Also, until a couple of years ago, that 2-year 5e game we played, where I actually retired a character. Before that, I started in 1980. Before that, I had never played a character beyond 8th level.
Wow,
that was it.
So
I was used to that kind of lower level type of stuff.
Would you guys say then? Do you think? Well, Eric, So you must play a lot of low level too, Eric. You do? Yes? Because of Swords and Wizardry Light, that's kind of your game.
Well, when I run at conventions, I run Swords and Wizardry Light because I can tell people to come back with your character at another convention, and you've survived me twice. Mm-hmm. You level up to 2nd level, so you can bring the same characters back to create them at the table. Which I think Swords and Wizardry Light is great for convention games. I don't know if it would work well at home per se. Maybe introduce people to gaming. Continual Light was meant to be more campaign focused. My experience though, as a GM, and I'm not gonna get my experience as a player is dwarfed by my experience as a GM. So I can only.
Me too.
You know, I was always like, all right, who's gonna run D&D? Fuck, everybody step back.
Looks like it's you again.
Yeah,
It's like a Three Stooges movie.
Yeah, no,
You know, I'm so used to the one. See, I started on first edition.
Yeah.
I never used basic. I started on first edition, second edition, third. I played some and I thought it was too. I didn't like it. Fourth edition. Screw you. I'm going to the OSR. But when I did Save or Die, I got back into gaming again. And my thing was the rules cyclopedia. Imagine my surprise when I opened the book and find out it goes to 36 levels.
Yeah, dude.
I like playing Wizards.
Yeah.
So
I know Frank Mentor likes high level play, but this is ridiculous.
Well, Wizards, clerics to a lesser extent, they get stuff almost all throughout their career because they get higher and higher level spells. So you look at the higher level spells, you're like, oh, that'd be cool to be able to have a character do that, but
Meteor Swarm.
you never do. You never do because you stuck at the mid levels is where games kind of fizzle out a lot of times or whatever.
And my question was,
go ahead.
My question
Back
to you,
in the old school, it was like, you kind of made it once you get your first fireball spell.
Told you.
It's like, I made it. I'm a made man now.
Well, see, that was my question. I think it's interesting. Look, I'm somewhere in the middle because Joe knows I may have talked about it. I've run a campaign in third edition from first to 30 plus. I mean, they became the equivalent of overgods, and that was fine. I had a good time. I can also run low level, and that's fine. But what I'm wondering is, so it sounds like, would you say you guys are representative? And I may be putting Eric in a box here, and I don't mean to. Of the OSR. He's
already in a box. It's okay.
Yeah, true. We're all kind of technically in a box. Good call. So anyway,
the four of us.
So the question is, do you think most big OSR fans? I know the Shadzar mentioned he on the comments. He mentioned he low level. Do you think they're kind of 1 to 8, and after that it's kind of he says where you learn about your character. That's okay. That's cool. Parts and Psionicis in the trash. So anyway,
just Psionicis.
Oh, okay. Well, but anyway, you can't play a bard in first edition without being 9th,
100th level.
100th level.
You got
to start out with 1,500 hit points.
You do, because 4 levels as a fighter.
Yeah.
5 levels as a thief, and then you become the bard, and you keep those 4 10-sided hit dice. The one 6-sided you got from your extra thief level, so passing your fighter level, and then you get an extra, I think, 10 d6 from being the bard. So they were the hit point machines.
If you saw a bard, you better show some respect.
There was an old Dragon magazine. There was an old Dragon magazine article where that's what they did. Everybody quaked in the boots when the bard walked by.
So my question is, do you think you're representative? Do you think the OSR? Because Joe and I mean, like I said, we're old school gamers, but we're old gamers that have played the old games.
Right.
Aged. We're aged gamers.
Aged well. So anyway.
Like a fine wine.
Fine wine. Yeah.
And we're like skunky beers. I got it pretty well.
So anyway, you guys, would you say you're representative? Do you think most OSR players like 1 to 8? Or maybe 1 to 10, and dude, after that, it just gets stupid. Like Glenn said, you get a fireball, I'm the king.
I'm going to talk from my experience, my groups, even my convention play. Like Glenn said before, you hit 5th level, and especially for your what they call now arcane casters, that's that sweet spot. Then you get that fireball spell, and it's like woohoo! Now I can kill the whole party with a TPK thrown it into a 10x10 room. Awesome. But I personally feel as a GM, I can handle at a convention a group of up to 10, 12 players with a game up to 7th, 8th level, 4th level spells and less. Once you start hitting 5th level spells, so 9th level, you need a smaller group because the more high level characters you have, the more fucked up variables you have, and that's part of it.
You got teleport.
Teleport changes the dynamic. That's a big.
It changes a lot of that stuff. Now, to me, because usually, except for that summer where we did, a session's a level, and we got people up to like 20th and 22nd and 18th. I got my one wizard hit 18th level. Valen got his wish spell, of course. But other than that, I ran a couple of games to name level 10th, 11th level, but those were campaigns where we generally had 3.5 players, right? You had like that fourth semi-regular player that would come in, and maybe one or two henchmen in a party that were solid that became like quasi-player characters.
Yep.
But if you had a large group, when I ran groups in college and I had 8, 9, 10, 14 players.
Dude.
Wow.
That's a lot.
You want to keep everybody, when you want to keep everybody involved, you can't do that once you start hitting the higher levels, because everybody everybody gets a chance to shine. No, everybody will suddenly be the person that steals the adventure from the rest of the party because of their one ability that you didn't take into account. So as your player characters get higher in level, the variables get higher. I never had a problem giving out scrolls with high level spells, because I always knew, especially for the spellcasters, the ability to cast, I don't know, Ice Storm, Raise Dead, True Sight, Limited Wish. These are all things that they wanted to reach. But listen, we've been playing for 6 months, once a week. The party is now 6th, 7th level. We've had a few PC deaths to round it out. That's maybe why you guys didn't get to 8th and 9th. But you do have your limited wish spell. Now, are you going to scribe that into your spell book and hope that you're going to get to, 14th level so you can cast it? Or are you going to use it when needed? You're going to use it when needed. So you can kind of supplement that, especially for the casters, that dying urge to be a higher level. Listen, again,
bust out the big ones. Yeah, they want to bust out those big spells.
Because just like the fighter once there, I want my +4 intelligence sword with a very low ego, so it doesn't try to take me over, because I'm and have no charisma.
And I want to attack 3 times around.
So
where's my vocal sword?
I mean,
he's got one.
And I'll be honest with you, as much as I enjoyed Unearthed Arcana as a player, for first edition, as a DM, it made the higher levels even that much harder to game master. It added more variables, especially in the spells. It made your fighter classes much more powerful, with the specialization and double specialization.
Right. It did.
And point blank attacks if you took it in a bow. So it became, it changed. It changed. Again, as a player, I loved it. It was like I saw those rules, and the first thing I said is, I want to play Illusionist in the next campaign. They're like, what? Well, no, but if I roll high enough, I'm going to be a fighter first. They're like, what are you talking about? And sure enough, I had great rolls. I'm like, all right, 1 level as a fighter. I'll spend 1 adventure as a fighter, get to second level, and I'm going to be an illusionist. They're like, yeah, but I go, I got 2d10 for hit points. I'm like, yeah, I cast Phantom Armor. Once I'm 3rd level, I can carry my 2-handed sword. Nobody's going to disbelieve my Phantom Armor. I'm going to be walking around with AC 3 plus my Dex bonus for the longest time. Plus, there were so many ways to break some of the stuff in Unearthed Arcana. And some of the illusions went from being like the weak class to being the broken class in those rules.
Yeah, illusions got
chromatic
ridiculous.
orb alone. Chromatic orb. Deb, you're getting some love.
Yeah.
Joe, you're getting some love from Deb. She said she loved high level. Her character was a Scion, and she played in that one game that went to post 30. She goes, high level's fine. She doesn't like low level play.
Again, I think that high level play, you need a concise party. Because as a GM, first off, any pre-written adventure that I ever got back in the old days that was for high-level play was all tournament play, so it was all meant to kill player characters, not really to keep your campaign going. Any of that stuff. And it's either going to kill the characters, or give them magic that was going to unbalance it. And I was already at that age. I was like the Monty Hall DM anyway. It's like this is giving away more than I give away. Holy crap!
Well, don't use the old school adventure Lost Caverns of Sojan.
Oh my goodness, that's a lot.
That one, Against the Giants series. By the time there were like 3 or 4 modules back in the day, first and second edition modules. That if you went through them, you were the king. You had all the good stuff that's not in any of the books. I remember Daode's Wondrous Landthorn.
Oh, that was Artifact.
Yeah, you get an artifact
for 7th and 9th level characters. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it was just phenomenal.
And remember,
right now I'm running Astonishing Swordsman, which is basically a 1E clone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's you want to play Conan, you play this game.
Right.
Oh, okay.
But
it's very tempting.
And I'm running this module, the Ghost Ship of the Desert Dunes. I ran it last time for another group. They got everything in there, including a sky ship.
Wow.
I'll be damned if they're going to get it this time.
no sky ship, Glenn. Screw the sky ships.
Well, there's a second edition module where you could potentially own a flying mountain.
Oh, hey, that was
Dragon Mountain.
Dragon Mountain.
Oh,
that was second edition, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. I got the box set nearby somewhere. I'm missing one of the
Flying Mountain.
Now, Chancellor brings up a point here, though, about first edition, and I didn't see this necessarily the same in second edition, but in 1E, you hit name level, and if you got your stronghold, you got your followers, and what I've found is that once my players start getting their keeps, their wizard's tower and stuff, the gameplay it changed from we want to adventure and go to dungeons and kill their stuff to we want to raise armies and take over the wild coast.
Yeah, we could never do that.
Oh yeah, my players wanted to do that. They wanted to take over the wild coast.
Why could you never do that, Joe?
Because if we ever got hirelings, they would be evil and they turn on us and assassinate us.
We did that every time.
Very rarely did we ever get to build a castle. Build a castle? Who do you think you are?
Yeah, you're nobody. You're only 14th level. What does that matter? No, I think that's one thing that's cool about low level play. I think if the fireball is sort of the king spell and 9th level you're like a lord, I think it would be, and we've talked a lot about time that we have to play. I think as you get older, everybody has the issue of how much time you can invest. I can't sit and play for 14 hours a day for 3 days in a row on a weekend like we used to. And if you get to, 9th level and you got your keep, and then imagine you take then these other characters that could be the children, or they could just be some other characters in the town that you now kind of lord. Yeah, that you're lord of. Yeah, make your new characters. I mean, there's something cool about that continuity that could be really attractive.
Yeah, and in 1E, you would read stuff about 1E, and you'd be like, oh well, yeah, characters hit name level, and it kind of was expected that a lot of them would retire. They would say, hey, I won the game, right? There's no way to win D&D, but you hit name level, you got to keep, you got followers. I won the game, and maybe you're, we don't want to go back to first level, but hey, my henchman's 3rd level. Well, your henchman's 2nd. Maybe the game will let you start a 2nd level character, and you don't start off basically, and maybe you're working for, and every once in a while you bring out those higher level characters. I mean, we did do that. We would go back every once in a while, years later, and be like, all right, we'll break out the level 18s. I saw a great adventure in Dungeon Magazine that we might put you through. Because also back in my early days, we didn't worry about continuity of how do you get from adventure to adventure, campaign world. That was just like a point on a map. Well, yeah, G1 is over here, G2 is over here, but Slavers was over here. That was all it was there for. We weren't worrying about hex crawling, and we didn't know about hex crawling. I thought that when I saw Judge's Guild stuff at the Complete Strategist in Manhattan, I was like, what the hell is this shit printed on newsprint?
Our group just played whatever module I bought. If I found the new module, oh look, Lost Cabin, Champ, we're playing it. Sit down. I'm DMing. That's what we're doing.
Yeah,
Right.
I mean, that's how it was. I mean, we did all the time. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Point crawls are easier.
What's the difference, Glenn? Point crawl versus hex crawl.
Okay, you got these guys who like to run hex crawls. I'm one of them, but I don't get to do it. You got the hex map, and usually they're numbered hexes. You got to figure out, okay, what's in this area that they can get into. It's basically you're letting them wander into trouble. And a hex, that's what a hex crawl is. A point crawl is more like you've got the town here, you got the castle here, got the ruins here, got the forest over here. Just points on a map. There's no hexes or anything.
Oh,
You go towards this. Okay, something happened.
Oh,
maybe
by the way,
they're both sandboxes. They're both different ways of sandbox to play.
Right.
And thanks a lot, Glenn. My wife just said she wanted a skyship. I really appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Now you got to run the game.
I know. I do now. Give her a skyship. Dang it.
What can I say? There's $70 right there.
Okay. Out the door.
I mean, I still remember the first time I tried to run something that was kind of like a hex crawl, and I wanted my players to. We were doing T1 to 4, but they left Hamlet, and I was like, all right, we're gonna bring them. They're gonna come back, and they're gonna do this, and second level party in the wilderness. And I had just gotten the World of Greyhawk box set, not just the folio, the box set, which included the weather charts. Dragon magazine before that, so I randomly rolled the weather for the winter, and I rolled a snowstorm that dropped like 3 feet of snow on a party in plate mail. And when your campaign dies at second level because your party was a downer party, that's like a downer.
What's the word? Ignominious?
I thought you guys liked rulings over rules.
Yeah.
You should have just ignored that.
That's now. See, you're talking to a teenage Tenkar,
right.
Who was like, it's we didn't call it run as written, but let the dice fall where they may. It's like,
here's a story incoming. You guys remind me. Here's a story incoming. Our group back in the late 80s, early 90s, when I was like 12 years playing Champions, but I would play D&D once in a while. We had one that lasted one session because the cleric got mad at the GM. They were in the desert. They were starving. He cast create food and water. What does the DM say? Okay, fine. He drops it down on the ground from the sky. Boom, this full meal in the sand. And the cleric and the DM got in an argument because he said you didn't say anything to put anything under it. So it got all sandy and stuff. That's not what I wanted. I just wanted and it's like 2 hours and the game was done.
That sounds like no DM you've ever seen before, right, Joe?
Yeah.
How did he get the meal? Was that a wish?
Yeah, I'm about to say
food and water.
Okay. So
here's the thing. But you are right. Back in quote the day, the relationship between a GM and the players was supposed to be a bit more adversarial.
Yes.
Right?
It was kind of encouraged.
You took the players' word verbatim. Well, no. Well, you said you were poking your head into the door. I mean, the door's closed. I wouldn't really poke my head into a closed door. You didn't say that. You said you're poking in your head. You take D2 points of damage. That's the kind of a dick. And I hate to say it. Now, again, that part of it was the age group you were dealing with. You were teenagers. But part of it was the only advice that you were getting on how to run a game was either from other players, generally your age, who were probably dicks when they ran a game, or you were getting it from Dragon Magazine, where they were telling you when a player uses a wish spell,
screw him to the wall.
Yeah, if they ask for anything beyond heal 1d6 hit points of damage, you should fuck them with it. It's like,
yeah, you're a jerk ass genie at that point.
Well,
right.
Glenn, you've commented a couple of times recently on your podcast. He would talk about some of the things Gygax wrote, and he would even say, "Man, that's kind of a dick move to even suggest that." But you're spot on. It was like that because I took it to heart.
My group dreaded the handing out of a wish spell because it came with 12 pages of legal document.
Here's your ring of 3 wishes. I want
this way.
I remember reading articles about how you should adjudicate wishes, and if the players wish for gold, what they do is they get teleported into the king's vault, and then immediately arrested and executed.
I mean, Gygax would. You can look at the 1E books. Look at the monster manual. Look at the player's handbook, and you can see gotcha spells, gotcha magic items, and gotcha monsters. And these are things because he thought his players were doing something too much. He made a monster to stop them, or a spell to stop them, or a magic item to stop them.
You listen to too many doors. We need ear seekers. You're searching for too much refuse. Need rock grubs.
That's how a rust monster came to be.
Yeah.
Do you guys think? Now I know you guys didn't play 3E and you don't like it. That's fine, and we don't play it.
I didn't say I don't like. Listen. 4E is the devil. All right,
Okay.
I will say
We agree.
We owe a lot to 3E. You got to realize that. I have a fondness for 3, not for the rules per se.
Exactly.
For the SRD and the OGL, because these are concepts that allowed old school gaming to have revival.
Yes.
Yeah.
It allowed Stuart Marshall and Matt Finch to put together Osric, and they got Wizards of the Coast sent a letter saying you can't do this, and it was smart because Marshall was out in the UK, so I figured, well, they're really not going to do anything across seas, and Matt was a lawyer, and he was just like, ignore it unless you get something official. Where they, it's one thing if they actually file, but if it's just we don't want you doing it, you can't do this. And they ignored it, and that was it.
Well, the way Matt told it, he says that they wanted to see it, and he knew better than to let them see it.
Oh, well, couldn't they just purchase it? Oh, I guess because they could have purchased it. And
they wanted it prior to release. And
okay. So here's my question then. So that's a good point. So with 3E, imagine if Gygax has all these, and like I said, I love the dude. I appreciate what he brought to our hobby. Him and Arneson both, I think it's really cool. I mean, that's why I'm here. So, but if you wanted a game that's adversarial, I don't think that's necessarily wrong. That's a way to play. I actually think, and we did this. We have a yearly thing called Cabin Con that we all go together, and it's coming up here in May. We do this, and we had a series of a few years where we played a game with the 3rd edition rules, maybe Pathfinder, whatever. I think they're so well codified. I guess the word's codified. They're so well codified that you could have an adversarial game. Now it can't be because the GM can always win.
Right.
He can win. But if you're like, let's try to play fair. Let's try to play the rules as written, which we tried to do, right, for the longest time, Joe. And you could have a very interesting competitive game because we did it in an arena style using the 3rd edition rules. Whereas I don't think in 2nd edition or 1st you could do or old school. I don't think you could do it very well because I don't think they're not codified the way, there's not a rule for every situation or a situation for every rule.
Yeah, that's certainly.
There shouldn't be. There shouldn't be.
That's an old school opinion. I don't disagree. Glenn.
You can always take a rule set, and I'm an example of doing it. You can take a rule set and cut stuff out, and you can remove stuff, and generally you can do that with less risk of breaking something than by shoving something in. Because shoving something in will be guaranteed to change balance, especially in 3E. 3E is a very, I don't say it's mathematically balanced. It has all this stuff, not perfectly, but it's got these concepts that are meant to balance stuff out.
They're meant to.
And you can remove stuff, and likely things won't necessarily fall over, but you add stuff and you're going to tip it one way or the other. Now,
I think you can do both to make things tough.
Yeah, Chadzar has a point here, but I'm going to give a counterpoint to it. OGL was never needed because the Supreme Court of the U.S. said game rules cannot be copyright, only their presentation. And the Wizards of the Coast versus Yu-Gi-Oh! Lawsuit, Wizards of the Coast tried to copyright the tap mechanic. Well, that is true. And if you look at the OSR, if you look at Crawford, Stars Without Number, all right? He publishes rule sets. He's used that rule set with other stuff. Spears in the Dawn. He's got some great releases. The thing is, it's not OGL. You'll play it and you go, this is the D&D mechanic. This is old school gaming. He doesn't write it under the OGL because yes, but you know what? He can do that and he can rewrite it all, and that's great. But what the OGL did was give you a safe harbor where you didn't have to reinvent the wheel in order to have a wheel. You were able to take the wheel that TSR had presented and you can replicate it within limits with their permission. And that's the great thing the OGL did. It opened up the water. Yes, you can use the same, you can use copyright to reimagine an old school D&D rule set.
Was Dragon's Foot around before the OGL? Because doesn't that website have a bunch of stuff? And I mean, they had a lot of stuff that I used to wonder and like, how are they printing this? How are they putting this on the web? And TSR was kind of sue happy for a while, right? They were kind of like putting their thumb on people that tried to publish anything that was even close to their quote unquote.
The Lorraine Williams years. Yes, we remember.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
TSR, they sue regularly.
Yes.
Well, I think that's one of the things that the OGL made people feel more comfortable with.
Right.
Was no fear of lawsuits because they already said, here's some permission. So whether or not the Supreme Court says what they said about a thing,
right,
and whether or not you can or can't use a game rule because they can't really be copyrighted or copywritten. I don't know which one of those is correct. Anyway,
you're asking a New Yorker, and we can't speak for sure.
Right. Either way, whether or not those things can be done, you can still get sued and spend a bunch of money in court for some court to figure it out one way or the other.
And we're all Americans in this room, so we all know that in the United States, the threat of a lawsuit is often enough to make people go, because somebody like Wizards of the Coast, with the backing of Hasbro, can afford to spend millions of dollars on a lawsuit with lawyers. And little old me, I want to put out my AD&D 1E adventure, and I risk that. And now some people are going to go, "Oh, you should do it for the hobby. You should take a stand." I'm not a lawyer, okay? Yes, I am blessed that I have a pension that allows me to be active in this hobby creatively, but no, I don't want to put my ass on the line to do something. So the OGL, do you give up some rights with the OGL? Sure you do. But there's one secret to the OGL that a lot of people don't talk about, and it's almost like that share and share alike license. I write something. Listen, Matt Finch wrote Swords and Wizardry, and he wrote different versions of it. I took the Swords and Wizardry white box rules and cut out 90% of the rules or more and brought it down to 4 pages.
Wow. 4 pages?
4 pages. 4 pages, 3 classes, 3 levels.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and 4 races. Players, I didn't do the layout. Zach Glazer did. So it comes as like a laminated, kind of like folder looking. And the outer pages are all the players' info, the classes and stuff. And the inner pages are the monsters and the combat charts. It's great. Now, that was published by Frog God Games. I didn't have to worry about any trademark infringing or copyright. I had the idea. I mentioned it to Zach, who was a partner at Frog God. He's like, dude, I'm going to run this up the chain, but I think that we got to run with this. And they give it out for free. So anybody who's listening, including our co-host tonight, if you reach out to Mike at Frog God Games, it's Michael Battalato on Facebook.
Is that bad, Mike? Is that bad, Mike?
and say, hey, I'd like to get my hands on a copy of Swords of Wizardry Light. If you live within the continental U.S., they will mail it out to you. It's also available free in PDF, but they will mail it to you for free. All right. So when I go to conventions, I give this stuff out. I hand this out. It's great, but that's what the OGL allows to happen. Like, people have hacked the Swords and Wizardry Light rules and Swords and Wizardry Continual Light rules into other rule sets, and I think it's amazing to see it. You see it, and it involves something that you never expected. And you're like, wow, that's based on something that I wrote. That was based on somebody that Matt Finch wrote, which was based off the 3rd edition OGL, which itself was based off Gary's work. And that all is, I think, but the OSR, a large part of it is this ability to share upon the work of others and make these new creations. And you're not infringing on somebody's right by doing so. But yes, you give up to your absolute right to it. Now, some publishers, I'm not going to name names, with their OGL statement, the only thing that's open game license is the actual, like, maybe statistics. So like the actual stat block of a monster is the only thing that's OGL, but everything else isn't. I think that's kind of rude, but that's their right.
That's why nobody can produce Mind Flayers, Beholders, things like that.
Well, yeah, but those things, when that was opened up, when Wizards of the Coast gave us the OGL, they had a few things that they decided were not going to be open game content. Now, have they worked around that? Yes. Have
Very
they
easy
worked around Mind Flayers?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've got I got a brain beater.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Eye
right.
Tyrant.
Yeah.
Eye Tyrant.
Yes. You will find Beholders in Swords and Wizardry. You will find Mind Flayers in Swords. You just got to look.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, on that vein, then, I know you talked about it once, or you talked about recently, Eric. Dangerous Dimensions, which became Dangerous Journeys, which was Gary's attempt at another game. That got TSR brought the pain to that and shut that down. Even though, didn't they technically lose? Did Gary just not have enough money?
No. You can't say when it was. First off, that was published by Game Designer Workshop.
Okay.
And I have Dangerous Dimensions because I picked it up at my one Gary Con. And then it became Dangerous Journeys because they were like, hey, this is infringing on our D&D trademark.
Right.
So Game Designer Workshop blinked. But then the lawsuit was against Gary. Gary wrote it while he was still under license and under contract to TSR. And
okay.
So I don't want to say how that went out. I think that in the end, I don't think Gary necessarily lost, but I think the property became worthless, basically. Because I think during that time there might have been an injunction on it. Again, I don't know the details on that.
I have a Dangerous Journeys, one of the books. I don't think I have. I can't remember the name of it. I think it's up here on my shelf. That's some complicated stuff there.
It is. I mean, I was lucky enough. I actually got Steve Marsh, who used to work with TSR and Gary's Day, was part of the staff. He actually had one. I forget which book it was. It was the Player's book or the Game Master's book. And he got it from Gary. Gary signed it to him, to Steve. Thanks for being a good friend, all that stuff. He put up an auction at North Texas. I was lucky enough to win it. So then Steve signed it over to me. So it's like, hey, it's one of those items like you can say the Providence. I can show you it went from Steve, signed by Gary, and then from Steve went to me.
Oh, do you guys ever check eBay for stuff?
No,
I recently saw the red letter Monster Manual, first edition with the red letter. So I guess
okay.
Signed from Gary to Andre Norton, the writer.
Holy crap!
And this dude was selling it for $15,000. That was like,
I remember a bunch of Dragon magazines that had Andre Norton's mailing address on it. I guess they were from the Andre Norton's collection a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
See, I stopped checking eBay because there was a while when eBay was quasi affordable, and you could find things. This is for the OSR, yeah. So I found like Empire of the Petal Thrones. I got the box was damaged. The box was crushed, but it was in the original shrink. Got it for I got it for less than 100, and it was the first thing I did.
Whoa.
I ripped the shrink off, and I
Good
opened
man.
it up.
They're meant to be played, dude. That's good. Shantar just said TSR had to pay Gary money
All right.
for that.
But at that point, though, the system was
Good.
pretty much dead. I mean, listen, here's the truth. I think that Gary's releases after you left TSR. Anybody remember Cyborg Commando? I mean, I have that. I remember one of the few things I ordered from Dragon Magazine, because Gary and Frank were signing all this. What a fucking mess that was! Holy shit, unplayable mess. So I, but
well, imagine Edison trying to able to use any technology from the light bulb he already invented.
Yeah.
So that was a bad thing that Gary had to go through. He couldn't use anything for fear of getting his butt suit off.
And he hit a grand slam with D&D. I mean, he hit the biggest home run ever.
Legendary Adventures actually is a very good system, and I'm very. I found it right before Gary passed, and I was like, "Oh, look at this!" And I got my copies with Gary. Had signed them. He had signed a bunch of copies, and I was like, "Oh, this is great." And then Gary passed, and they all got removed from the market. I was like, because Castles and Troller Games got the license from Gary, and he was going to work on it with them. And they put out a box. They put out a box set, which really explained the rules a lot better than the initial books did. And Gary was a great designer of rules. He thought like a wargamer. Okay, and what appeals to wargamers doesn't necessarily appeal to the role-playing part of the hobby. But the box set that Trollords Games put out was edited well, and it was explained well. And I was like, this could be a great alternate to D&D. And then, Gail pulled the license. Got to go.
Boom. Something I did, I just finished, was it last night? I got the PDF of the white box because I'm not going to pay for the white box. And I read Might and Magic, the first book, Joe. Everybody else. Have you guys read any of the, any of you guys have the white box?
I have the PDF.
I have
me too.
Two copies of the collector's edition.
Oh, okay.
I got them both when they were under 100 on eBay. It's going back a while.
Yeah,
and I have the wood box reprint that they put out a couple of years ago.
Oh, and the nice wood box, really nice.
I actually had two because I pre-ordered it from two different places, and I thought,
wow, dang.
I gave one away a couple of years ago, but are the rules playable?
Oh my God!
Not to our generation.
It's a different creature, Eric.
Oh yeah.
Definitely.
Huh?
To wargamers, definitely it was playable.
And
but
Charm Person is boss in that game, Joe. Is the king. Charm Person is boss.
Oh, really?
It lasts until dispelled.
Oh, yeah. I've skimmed through a lot of the older editions, and there's a lot of that. Low-level spells lasting until dispelled. And a lot of that is carried over in some OSR games.
And you'll like the style of Van.
Until dispelled.
I have to tell Joe this because I don't think he's heard it. You'll love how they do the spells. It's not truly Vancian because once you cast a spell, you can't cast it again for 24 hours. Any spell. If you cast Charm Person, that's your one Charm Person for the day. You can't memorize it twice.
Well, it was very powerful for a first level spell.
Yes, it was. It was great. I don't know if it's a bad idea.
Right. Well, I can get that. You've cast that. Now you have a slave until someone figures it out and dispels it.
There is something to be said about short-term spells.
Yeah.
I've used those. I was in a game with the Monday group. We had to get by a Cyclops or something, and I webbed him. I was playing a magic user. I webbed him. I says, he's going to break through that in the next round. I said, yeah, in the next round. Get your butt up there and save the princess or whatever the hell it is and get out of there. Yeah. I just gave you a 1 round, delay on that.
Right. That's what low-level spells are good for.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. Speed bumps. And a lot of...
Pretty much.
Yeah.
But,
a lot of...
I played a convention game of, I believe, Basic. I think I was playing Bruce Hurd's game or something like that. But we had just been so beat up in this dungeon. I was playing an elf, and they are magic user fighters. And we opened the door, and there was a whole squad of orcs.
Whoa.
All I did was throw a web spell in there, toss a lit torch, and close the door, and we went on.
Yeah,
There you go.
that used to be a strategy. I've seen people do that. Yep.
Like, forget it.
Well, there's a strategy
No time
that I
for
didn't
you.
realize. In the pre-AD&D, I'm not sure if this is basic, but I'm pretty sure it's in Lightbox. Magic Missile has duration of a turn.
Oh,
So what it
Right.
is that if you're high
I
enough,
know.
you can cast it and hold it. So now, if you know you're going to come into a big encounter, you cast your 3 magic missile spells. Your missiles are all like hovering around you like ion stones, and then you walk in, you let them all go at once. It's
dude,
like,
That's really
shit.
cool.
Right.
that is pretty cool, actually. That's not bad.
I
Probably-
I love the glitches in the
What?
spells.
Yeah, that's something else.
Oh. Was it Swords of Wizardry does magic missile? I think it's Swords of Wizardry does magic missile. You have one of 2 ways you can do it.
Right.
If you want,
Automatic hit for less damage or a better chance to hit. A chance to hit.
it's like less damage for auto hit, but if you want to make it to hit, it'll do more damage.
Yeah, I always have opted for. I'll take the auto hit for 100, Alex.
Yeah, because
That's all.
with the bonus to hit that wizards typically get in that version of the game, yeah, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
So David's like, yeah, it was basic D&D that had the duration of 1 turn. I saw that. I was like,
Dude, that's
that
great.
is, that is when you got to think out of the box a little bit, and you're like, whoa! And now at 5th level, I get how many missiles do I cast now? This is cool.
You can even use that as intimidation.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
could.
You can say, "Look, you see this? You may
You
want to
bet-
back down."
You about to get all
And-
3 of them. You
Yeah.
don't shut up. Yeah.
And in basic, it's it's an arrow. When you come to AD&D, it's a ball of force or some shit like that, or
Mhm.
dart of force.
They've
But
talked
in
darts.
basic, it's a. Well, remember, darts in D&D are like the size of like your forearm.
Right.
These aren't. We think darts these days. It's like, it's like playing darts. I'm gonna
In the
play
bar.
301. No. We're talking lawn darts that were removed from the market.
Yes,
That's what you're
yes.
winging at people.
Yeah.
I survived. We all survived that era.
Yes.
Right.
My family had one of those games.
Jarts?
Really?
Jarts,
Yeah,
yeah, we
dude.
survived.
Heck yeah.
We
Throwing
threw them
each
at each
other
other all the time.
all the time. Heck yeah. My cousins
Hold
used
still.
BB guns. My cousins would fire at each other BB guns across the pond. I mean, and one of my cousins has got. I got a big family, guys. When I say cousins, it could be. I'm not
50
no
million
lie.
people.
Yeah,
I
250
almost
cousins.
cracked my skull on a slip and slide when I was a kid.
Got one that's
I'm a
got he's got a BB in his hand still.
Ooh.
Stuck in him. Yeah,
Really?
it's insane. Yeah, it's permanently
Wow.
in his hand. It's deep in. Yeah.
I had a Daisy Red Rider. Nobody was gonna get any. that-
Ooh, Daisy.
You can see it on the barrel in the sunlight. Hey, you could watch that projectile dip. Okay, it wasn't gonna do anything good for anybody.
Not even a D4 damage. Dang it.
Yeah, it wasn't. Like, did I get off me? I was like, what? Stop shooting me with those BBs. It's annoying. Come on.
So, do you think? Speaking of the OSR, because I mean, Joe and I still have some questions. You mentioned yesterday in your show, Eric, that your demographics are like 85 or 90, depending on whether it's YouTube.
Depending on the medium that people are watching or
Mostly guys our age.
consuming it.
That's
Yes.
mostly.
Oh yeah.
You said on YouTube, you're getting a 20-ish something audience. At conventions, I know with COVID, it's not the best way to measure it. And I know is your grandson Gage the one that likes to play old school too?
Yeah.
There's some
Well,
young
he plays
folks.
5e and old school.
Right. I know
Well-
he's a big 5e guy, and I like 5e. Joe doesn't, but anyway, do you think is there a segment of the gaming hobby that is OSR pulling any younger people in besides just Eric's, distribution of fans? Or
I was surprised. Yes.
Yes, I mean, I'll run games at conventions, and generally speaking, I'm probably the oldest person at the table. I'm 53 now, and
Me too.
I'm getting people that are younger now. If it's a game I'm playing in, I often find I'm the same demographic as everybody else that, in their 50s that found a way to the game table. But I'm running Swords and Wizardry, and it's younger people or it's people close to my age with their offspring, with their son. Shout out to Mike Gross and Michael Four. Who have been at my games at ShireCon. I think part of it is too is that North Texas will grab an older audience. North Texas is aimed at old school gamers, probably around 350, 400 attendees, but the same number of special guests from the old TSR era and that whole time of early gaming as you'll find at Game Hall or GaryCon. It's amazing.
I've done a bunch of Gen Cons. I mean, I went to the 50th a couple of years ago, the 50th anniversary, and I did probably 20, 25, probably more like 25, not all in a row, but close. But North Texas Con and Game Hall Con and GaryCon actually are three conventions that are kind of, because I was kind of done after Gen Con's 50th. I was like, I've had enough of this. But Glen's talked about North Texas Con. You and Bad Mike have talked about it. It's definitely a con that kind of intrigues me, but I don't. It'll have to be when it's face to face because I mean online gaming's only mine.
Oh yeah, no, and listen,
right there, Glen.
To North Texas.
I am a lifelong New Yorker. Although I've spent a lot of time in the Poconos, my family has a place up there. However, North Texas, from the first year I went, And this is the same convention where I went with my wife, Rach, and I was supposed to go with Joe the lawyer. He couldn't make it. So Rachel's like, oh, good. We'll actually have a honeymoon as opposed to a 3-day weekend. And it's like, we'll go away someplace for it. So she went with me, and she thought she wasn't going to do any gaming.
Is she a gamer normally? Is Rachel a gamer? No, okay.
No. But I got her I put her into games with GMs that I figured would be good. Matt Finch, Tim Schneider, Zach Laser. I just had a feeling for it. And at the end of Thursday, this is, by the way, we got there on Wednesday, and she was trying to show off her husband in the pool. Like, this is Eric Tenkar.
Yeah, dude, yeah, I understand.
She's like, you're here for the con, right? He's like, yeah. Well, this is Eric Tenkar. Who? Eric Tenkar.
Tenkar's Tavern, baby. Come on.
Yeah, she's like, I have no idea. I looked at him, which forum? I go, Knights and Knaves or Dragon's Foot? He goes, oh, Knights and, no, it was Dragon's Foot. I go, yeah, Rich, he doesn't read blogs. He doesn't know about, I go, don't, relax.
I'm just a big fish in a very small pond.
Yeah. She had all these things planned out that she was going to go shopping and, I can do this. So end of the first day. And I'm exhausted. I'm like, I can't wait to get back to the room. She's like, we're coming back next year. I'm like, whoa, what? She goes, this is fucking great. This is awesome. She was having fun. She was having fun role-playing and playing the games. And just the atmosphere at North Texas is like a small town community. Okay. Really.
To my wife going for the first two cons, and the third one she says, and she goes off and shops and stuff. The third one, it's like, yeah, go without me.
No, Rach, go. North Texas. Rach goes to North Texas to socialize and to play games. She'll play in more games than I do. I go there to run the table. She runs the table with us, with me and Mike. She loves it.
I've been trying to get my wife to go, and because she likes more. I like role playing games. I'm not really a card and board game guy. I'll play them, but they're not really my thing. She loves every kind of game you can imagine, and she's like, I don't really want to spend a whole weekend playing games. But I know for a fact, if I got her even at a place like Gen Con and just set her down there in the main, what do they call it? Where they sell all the stuff. There's a name. Yeah, the dealer hall. I couldn't drag her out of there. She'd be trying every single game they wanted to offer her. She would love it. And Joe, you've never been to con, have you, Joe?
No.
Don't have
I've
much
never
time?
really been able to swing the cost or the time to go to Gen Con.
Gen Con's really costly. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, Gen Con. I went back in '94 to Gen Con. I'm not too many people. North Texas is to me, it always feels like I'm coming home again. And again, and it's capped at 350 to 400 people. You're not going to get crushed. If you want to talk to the people from the Tim Kask and the rest, Merle Rasmussen, they're all approachable. Steve Marsh, because they're not overwhelmed by people. Now, if you like board games, Game Hall has a huge, I can't even call it a room. It's like an exhibit hall. Just with board games to be loaned out.
Hey, is this the part where I get to tell my James Spahn story?
What the topless James Spahn? I don't know.
No,
go ahead, Glenn. Who's James?
Hey, topless. This is family friendly, right?
James Spahn wrote the White Star science fiction RPG based on
he was a spy.
James Spahn, not Bond. He's also
a smart ass.
On the Star
Except
Wars
the smart part.
He on the Lord of the Rings stuff. He's worked on a lot of properties.
Yeah. Anyway, his first North Texas, he managed to scrape some money up or whatever, and his wife sent him to North Texas, and Eric and I sort of took him under her wing, if you know what I mean. He'd never been to a con with all these old TSR people and stuff, and he was like this during a lot of the con. And he talked to him, and I remember sitting in the hall. We were sitting on a bench in the hall talking stuff, and Errol Otis walks by.
Oh wow!
And I said, "Hey, Errol, come over here." And Jim said, "What are you doing?" He said, "This is James Spahn. He wrote such and such and such." And Errol Otis he's a great guy, salt of the earth, real friendly and stuff. And he just, James gets up and, "Hey, yeah, that's really great stuff." And James is like, he's like Jackie Gleason. And he was like that through the whole con.
Yeah.
No. By the end of the con. See, this is where we go to the topless James story. By the end of the con, it's probably it's late in the afternoon on Saturday. I'm talking with Merle Rasmussen in the outer dealer area, where the artists are, and I got Frank Metzner behind me and to my left, patiently waiting to talk to me. And James sees this, and he's coming toward me. So Merle has a bit of a view, but Frank does not. And James takes his shirt and then lifts it over his head and gives me full male boobage. So Merle sees this. And Merle, the gentleman, he wrote Top Secret back in the day.
Yeah.
Merle just gently brings up this little smile and twinkle in his eyes. And he's like, and he goes to me and just nods his head. And I'm just looking at this like, what? And Frank just realizes that Merle stopped talking and thinks this is a chance to jump in. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, oh, God, thank you, James. A moment that I will not forget. But I realized that James said, yeah, you can. Listen, I thought I would never have that moment. You meet people at conventions and, I kind of I feel awkward meeting some of them. But I never but I never really was stuck in the oh my God, I'm meeting,
what's his name? What's his Picorni comes every year and brings all his Dwarven Forge stuff and runs games.
Oh, is he the guy that owns Dwarven Forge?
Yeah,
Picorni. Yeah,
that stuff is expensive. Yeah, and beautiful. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it is beautiful.
It is absolutely beautiful. One of my favorite things I did for Mike and Liz is a few months earlier I was at Half Price Books and I found a first edition of Bunnies and Burros.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, I wish we had one of those around.
Oh yeah,
I gave it to Liz.
There.
I gave it to Liz and I said, now come over here. There's Dr. Dennis Cesare who wrote it. Go get him to sign it for you.
Very cool.
It's yours.
Yeah, and you can do that in North Texas. It really is a different.
I don't get very Star Trek. Like I've been to, like I said, probably 20-something Gen Cons. The only time I remember being a little bit stunned, and I should have spoke to him, Gygax was there. So this was in Milwaukee.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
About what year? And he was sitting, and I've been told forever he was super friendly, but I was just kind of like, I'm looking at him, I know that guy. And I'm like, holy crap, that's Gary Gygax. And I saw him again outside, so he was smoking a cigarette or something. I never approached him, but I usually don't. Part of it is if they're, it's RPGs are still pretty small little universe, but I don't get, I don't think I get Star Trek, starstruck kind of like Eric does, but I'm like, I don't kind of know what to say. I like your game.
I did get starstruck at one time, and that's only because we're at North Texas, and a couple of years ago, and we're going to go back to our hotel room. And I guess the elevator doors had just closed, and I guess I didn't wait long enough to hit the button, so they opened up again. And who's there but Jeff Grubb? Oh. And I know it's Jeff Grubb because I recognize. I used to, from too many days, I used to love Jeff's work. But Jeff sees my name tag and goes, Eric Tenkar, Tenkar's Tavern. I went, huh? Oh, I read your blog all the time.
Nice.
And I went, great. And this is my wife telling me this. She goes, you did a Jackie Gleason. You went, humana. and then the doors closed to the elevator. She goes, we never got on. And I was like,
yeah.
But Jeff Grubb knew who I was. I mean,
knows my name.
First time I met Tim Kask at North Texas, he was talking to some people. And he saw my badge. He says, "Oh, Smokestack, Jay, you guys do that Saber Dice show, don't you?" I says, "Yeah." I says, "You guys running around here going to be interviewing people?" I said, "No, I didn't bring the equipment, and I don't think Vince is here." And he just looks at me and goes, "Good."
Cass seems like he would be a hoot. I've seen him at seminars. He seems hilarious.
Yes, he's a lot of fun.
Yeah, no. It was all the guys from and again, the demographics. Most of the people you're going to see that are name-worthy recognition as authors and artists, most of them are going to be male. It was a male-dominated hobby.
Yeah, it was.
You'll probably see Janelle Jacquez at some of these cons. You're going to see Darlene. Thank you. Mm-hmm. But now, if you go to Gamehole or you go to GaryCon, you have people from later generations of the hobby that have name recognition that are going to be there. Mm-hmm. But North Texas is definitely 2 feet solid into the old school gaming aspect of it when it comes to their special guests.
The first 4 or 5 years I went to North Texas, I got all my autographs out of the way.
Yeah.
So I did that. I remember one night, it was like 11:30, and I saw Steve Winter and Zeb Cook in the bar.
Oh, Zeb Cook did play.
I had a stack like that of Tui books. And I said, "Gentlemen, boom. Could you find these?"
Get to it.
I
didn't even offer to buy them.
There you go. Get to it.
Yeah, I felt so bad. I ended up buying them drinks all night.
Oh, Eric, are you gonna plump that money down for the Hand and Eye with Vecna?
I'm still trying to figure out where.
How much is it?
I got it for 120 on eBay. I bought it.
No thanks.
I pulled the trigger.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that includes shipping.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll hold
free shipping. I'm in.
Oh, that's Tim.
I won't spend $5 on something like that. I love that. I'm becoming, the older I get, the more I like these vanity items, dude.
So
you're not sure if you're going to get it?
I don't like to call it wife aggro, but
That's good. Wife aggro. That's cool.
That's hilarious.
I pulled some of that in my time.
Oh, Lord.
Oh
God!
Lord Almighty.
I went kind of. My wife was sweet today, though. She essentially okayed it. I said, "Well, do you think?" And she's listening. I was like, "Do you think this is worth getting?" Because I've been thinking about it. I know it's just going to sit on my shelf. She goes, "I got a perfect place for it." So sometimes she kind of pushes me. She helps me with my bad habits. And go ahead.
Yeah, I know. You know what? You're right. I just ordered this engraved wooden dragon altar for Rachel's yoga setup.
Oh, wow.
Just arrived yesterday. That was like 110. I could justify this, dude. Sorry, you didn't think. And I'm gonna say
yours would be $1 cheaper. Yours would be. I'm a math guy. Tell her it'd be $1 cheaper.
There you go.
109. He still got you. Got two left.
I'll blame it on Randy, and she'd be like,
"Who's that bastard?"
Hey, Randy, you mentioned you played
Randy Marsh from no, not Randy Marsh. No, it's not Randy, but it could be.
Hey, Joe, Randy, what do you mention? You played 2E for a while?
Oh, I played through the whole run.
Yeah.
Yeah, we played the whole run.
Were you ever part of the RPGA?
Okay, for a couple of short stints at Gen Con just to get some games in. I've had both good and bad experiences with the RPGA. You got time for? Should I tell a story? I don't know if we have time. So I'm at Gen Con. I ran a Planescape game at Gen Con, my 5th or 6th Gen Con, and it was Milwaukee, and it was a pretty big game, and the guys liked it. I mean, a lot of guys, and then it was funny because the next day, these 4 guys who had played my game come and found me, and they said, "Dude, you ran a great game. Would you want to join us in the RPGA tournament?" And I'm like, "What's that?" And they're like, "Well, we just," and then it was like, the prizes were amazing at Gen Con that you would win if your team won. And I was like, and they go, "We came in 2nd place last year." And I'm like, "Dang, I don't want to screw you guys up." "No, you'll be fine." And before we go to play, Glenn, this tournament, RPGA tournament, they're kind of coaching me. "Now, look, you don't want to split apart. The key is to get through as much as you can so you can make it to the next round." I'm like, okay. So he goes, "Keep the role playing down. It's all about getting to the monster, killing it, taking it shit, moving on." And I said, "Okay, I got you guys. I'm following you." And so I'm following the lead. And one of their guys ends up split. And they said, "Whatever you do, don't split the party." 20 minutes in, one dude takes off down this road in the city of Sigil, which I don't know if you know that. It's a massive.
I remember. Yeah.
And I'm just like, oh, crap. And we're fighting. We end up not getting through 2 rounds. We had a good time, and we lost. We didn't get to go any further. And I'm like, oh, my God. And they go, "Don't feel bad." And they weren't mad at me, but they were mad at their friend. Oh, my God, were they pissed?
I imagine so.
He just said, "What are you doing? You know that's not how you play the game." I'm sorry, Glenn, but yes, I played a couple of times.
I did RPGA.
Oh, Joe's done a lot.
I did. When I was in the Army, and I was stationed in DC, and I did a few RPGAs, and it was fun until it wasn't. So I had a bunch of dudes. We all played for a while, and it was cool. And then the way that the RPGA modules are written, it's kind of wonky. The one that there's 2 of them that kind of just, after the second one, it was the last straw. But in this module, when you enter it, there's a giant. And it's a kind of giant that doesn't like cold iron weapons. So anybody that had a cold iron weapon, it would take your cold iron weapon from you, right? And if you didn't, he would throw down, you're dead, basically, because he's really tough.
Oh, so he's way beyond you.
Right. So when you get items in the RPGA, they're signed off. They have a card or something like that. Right. It's hard to get items, and if you lose them, it really sucks. And so we had 2 or 3 people in the party that had a cold iron weapon. It was magical, and they didn't want to give them up. So we threw down, and we all died.
Fun.
It was a giant. What were we going to do? What were we going to do?
I got into the RPGA around my 3-5 days. And at the time, that was the only way I was gaming, because around where I'm in Oklahoma City here, if it ain't D20, it's crap. And so I was in Living City, Living Forest. I registered for the RPGA, got my membership cards, and like my battle mat is an RPGA battle mat. They sent me for free. They send you stuff every once in a while. One of the things they sent me was the Fist of Emrakul. Do you know who Emrakul is? The chaotic.
Yes.
And with the chart, huge D20 with all these runes on here. And then you'd roll it, look at the runes in the chart, and that's what happened. But it was a physical, it was resin cast, and this thing was heavy. And it's like so many times in a game when somebody was acting up, I just pick it up and I go, and they'd back down.
I'm gonna throw it.
Because if this hit your head, it would really hurt.
That's
more a deterrent than I did.
Yeah. So, did you enjoy your experience in there? I mean, I've had pretty good times the 2 or 3 times I played. Yeah.
I did until I decided until they stopped doing it, and I figured out why the hell am I playing this game that makes me work too much?
Oh, it's a lot of work. You got to keep track of everything.
Hey, it's D&D for pencil pushers.
Now, I did.
I didn't like the modules. The modules were no good.
Yeah, I can see that. I didn't think everything they wanted everything had to be statted out, and I'm going, why?
Yeah. I tried 4th edition at Gen Con through the RPGA when the year it first came out, or maybe it was the second year. I got into the game. My cousin and I were going to give it a whirl, and we just wrote, because the gameplay, I don't know if you ever played 4E, it's so weird, it's so different, and I just couldn't figure it out. And the GM was horrendous.
Really?
I mean, and I only had a couple because he wasn't paying attention. He was worried about getting food. And I understand because I've run games back to back and you're hungry and he's worried about getting food, not hardly doing anything. And one guy at the table, and I didn't know this because I didn't know 4E. One guy kept using they call it a daily power, which is like a really powerful power every single round. Like every single round he was doing the same thing. And the other players after the game said that was completely wrong. I wouldn't have known it. I was like, why is the Ranger so damn good? We all suck because he keeps using this super power that he's only get to use once a day. He was using it every round. But so that was an interesting experience because the players were fun, but the DM was bad.
Oh, that's too bad. I when I was in the RPGA, I played Living City. It was all right. But I really enjoyed Living Force. The D20 Star Wars system.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I
think Saga's good actually. I like the Saga system.
You do?
Yep.
Good. I'm more of a D6.
Yep.
Original.
Yep. I've never played it, but I've heard about it. I've never played it.
Yeah, it is a lot of fun. And did you know that the origins of that system is Ghostbusters?
Yep.
Ghostbusters was first?
Yep. Oh. It was a very simple system. They elaborated on it and ended up being the Star Wars system. And the D6 system, I guess.
No, something new every day.
Yeah, and I enjoy. I got Ghostbusters too, and I enjoy playing that once in a while.
Is Rob Conley hi Rob? Is he the Bat in the Attic guy?
Yes, he is.
Yes.
Okay, I've heard you guys mention that. You mentioned some campaign that he wrote the other day.
Black Marsh.
Black Marsh, yeah.
Black Marsh, yes.
You were praising that one, so I'm going to look that up.
It's cool. It is one of the cornerstones, I think, of the OSR, at least setting wise. And Rob did a great job with it. It was inspired by the Judges Guild Wilderness releases.
Yeah,
Wilderlands, yeah.
The Wilderlands, but it is spot on. When I came back to GMing, I came back to gaming with not just like fantasy grounds and text, but through voice and VTTs to playtest D&D Next. And after GM got a little frustrated with the rules changing every other week, and said, "Fuck this shit! I'm not doing this anymore." We had a good group, but I'm not fucking DMing. I need a break. I was like, "All right, I'll step up." And I ran Black Marsh using AD&D 1A and Osric. I said, whatever you got, we'll run with it. And it was, I ran it as a sandbox. And we ran it for, good 6-8 sessions. I ran out the sandbox without being prepped. I was like, all right, I'll get something ready for half
You
an hour.
tend to do that.
Yeah, I do a lot of stuff as an improv. I wasn't as good with it back then, but it's a great setting with a lot of seeds that are built into the default setting. That if you are an improv DM, you're gonna have a lot of fun with it and just go off on it. And as Rob told me, Rob also worked on the Point to Light releases for Goodman Games. And Point to Light were these like little mini settings. I think it was either 3 or 4 per book. There's 2 books. And they're system neutral. But they actually link up, the maps will link up to his Black Marsh. They're like just on some of them. So they're like just off the map. So you have an ability to have a very large gaming area, world to explore. It's like, oh yeah, these other countries are just over the edge of the map.
Because I was looking for it when you mentioned it because it sounded pretty cool. Is it still available or is it something that's out of print?
No, it's up on Drive-Thru RPG.
Oh, I bet you can't get a physical copy, except for the drive-thru can print it off.
I believe, yeah, it's always print on demand.
Oh, okay, it's
So
always Okay, it's always.
But, yeah, I'm gonna do a quick as we do. I'm gonna just double.
To Shadzar's comment, yeah, I think I played Saga a little bit. I think it's got some 4E elements in it, but it's not nearly as annoying as 4E and doesn't have the daily powers, but it's mostly D20.
Okay. All right, so the Black Marsh, the PDF is free.
Oh, okay.
And the print book is $5, $4.99.
Wow. Okay.
It's,
that's the thing.
Pages.
That's the thing about this journey that I and Randy have taken since we started podcasting and discovering something that's been in plain view, the OSR, something we kind of knew about back in our heads. I can't remember. We were talking before the live stream. How we got into the podcast and kind of frustrated with some the podcasts that we were listening to. I don't know if we started that. We were talking about that before.
Yeah, we talked on a little bit. Yeah,
that was before the live stream started, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So essentially, it's dissatisfied with the podcast that I found at that time. They were and the game industry, apart from OSR, all you got a bunch of social activists kind of invaded and
just pushing their agenda on you.
Right. So I was frustrated. So we started podcasting because I couldn't find a podcast. And then all of a sudden, all of these podcasts pop up. I think you didn't start before the summer and you're all lying. You're all a bunch of liars. You didn't start until this summer, and you weren't there. You were not there because I couldn't.
Tavern Chat is going to hit a 3-year anniversary, I think, in April.
Right.
But the live stream is fairly new, but the podcast is almost 3 years old.
Dude, Glen's got 600 podcasts under your belt.
I'm in the early. I'm going to be putting up tonight. Episode 917, 916 goes up tomorrow.
Listen to these liars. Listen to these guys.
I don't believe
yeah. I think I'm at. I actually have to write this stuff down. Tonight's episode, which will probably be Gamers Health, which will come out first, will be 965.
Right. So all this stuff has been out there. Didn't discover it, but it's cool that it's there and can always listen to the back catalog. But what's the great thing is the games are mostly low price.
Yep.
They get right to it. So you don't have to worry about folks' agendas, their social opinions, any of that stuff. I'm sure they have them.
Right, everybody has opinions.
But the games, the books are short, sweet, to the point. They're inexpensive. Unfortunately, most of them have Fancy and Magic, which I want to burn them all for that. But and they're low level.
Do you use? Do you use spell points?
Huh?
Do you use spell points? You don't use Fancy and Magic.
Whatever the game system has. I mean,
we use Fancy, and Joe just hates it.
I'm not a fan of it. So
I have no problem with Fancy, really. Once I found out that in Basic you don't have to figure out how many turns it takes me to cast something.
Right.
I hate that.
Right.
Yeah, I know when Joe was coming back, and like I went through a lot of the podcasts I listened to. I listened to several types, and I had seen not Eric's podcast. I actually saw his blog first, and then Daco's Hammer, and I listened to him like, oh, they're talking about second and first edition. That's not for me. But I found myself interested, and I could never. And after a while, Joe, you might remember when I told you, I was like, dude, I don't know why, but I like listening to OSR podcast, even though we're not playing OSR. It's really weird. Right. I just kind of, and I think you're right. It's because you guys just get to the gaming stuff and the things.
You just talk about the gaming. Nothing else is really in
the gaming. And we're not even. We're generally speaking, if we argue about rules, we're pointing out broken rules. We're not talking about how to break the rules. I've seen that in some other. It's like, well, here's how to build your perfect. Oh, fuck this shit.
Optimization boards and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, and third edition, that was bad.
Here's another thing about the OSR. Yes, you're listening to it because, and I'm not going to get in my story of how I started my Judges Guild collection, but the idea, and I got these during my 335 days. I bought those because I realized that everything old is new again. That's why you're listening to the OSR. What can you adapt to what you're doing?
Right. And that's a DIY. That's
something like Dark Tower or Caverns of Thracia or something like that. And I'd have players back then go, oh, wow, that was a good game. Where'd you get that?
I ran Dark Tower twice. That is a great module.
Isn't it?
Yep. Fabulous. Super deadly. I love it.
I pulled stuff on that before on player characters, and they just thought I was like, wow, you're the most original guy around. It's like, no, I just know where to steal. That's all.
Well, yeah, and like I said, you probably maybe heard me and Joe talk about. We have a small segment where we talk about this, this mysterious game we're going to write one day, and I can't help it. I don't know if you noticed, I always seem to come back to sort of old school. I think was it Necromancer games that was first edition rules, first edition feel.
Yep.
And I think we were talking, I want that. If we do get that game, our game will be, you're at 9th level, you're going to become a lord. You're going to be able to make castles. That's going to happen. Now, you may end up in the plains at 37th level. That might happen because that's cool too. We like that crap. But I mean, it's something about it. And I thought it was just nostalgia. I've been bit by that bug since Gen Con 50. They had pretty cool. Did you guys go to Gen Con 50? Either one of you guys?
No. I went to was back. Well, actually, no. What was Gen Con 94? Was that 5th?
No. This would have been the second to last face-to-face Gen Con.
No. I went like in 93. I went to Gen Con 25.
I mean 50th anniversary. My bad.
I know. Mine was the 25th.
Oh wow! Okay,
I have to die somewhere for the special dragon die.
You would probably have liked it.
I've never been. I go to North Texas. Period. That's all I can afford.
Right. Oh, I understand that. But at Gen Con, they had a Gygax Memorial, which was a small replica of the entryway to where did they have the first Gen Con at in Lake Geneva? It was a little.
Something hall. It's
yes.
I want to say the herbivores hall.
Yeah, it was almost like a horticultural hall. Horticultural hall.
There you go.
And they had like D&D through the ages, and they had all these. They had the white box, had it open. They had the second. I think it was a copy of the second Gen Con. What do you get when you get your? I'm blanking on words here, guys.
The
program, which was like 2 stapled, typed up pages, and it was just. I had this wave of nostalgia just went all over me, seeing all this stuff, and I'm like, I used to own that. Oh my god, I can't believe I sold that, and I'm like, wow, and it was just. And ever since then, and Joe can confirm, I just can't get my mind off of that. I hope it's not. I don't think it's nostalgia. I think I'm feeling like our game is going to kind of harken back and feel
veer that direction.
Yeah, it may not be old school, but it's going to kind of say, yeah, we like that feel.
Well, there's also this DIY.
That, really.
There's a DIY sharing encouragement in the community. Seems like everybody. It's not like I got my toys here and you can't look at them. It's
right. I mean. Right. If you're in any of the groups on social media, whether it is like it's a lot on Facebook, which are listen, to some extent, there's a lot of us are creators and or minor publishers within the hobby, and the advice that people, not just give out, but people ask for or anything, even layout questions. People are like, oh no, give me a few minutes. I'll PM you, and then we can we'll go and get on a call, and I'll walk you through it. Where else do you see that? I mean, and that's why there is. I've seen this argument, and it's usually from people who don't like individuals within the OSR. Mm-hmm. But I always say that the OSR is a community, and I'm very happy to be part of that community. I'm thrilled. It is one of the most giving, helpful, supportive communities that you can find in gaming. And to and they don't care whether you've been in the OSR like, oh, I'm a new publisher, I'm looking to do this. All right, well, what do you need? Are you looking for somebody who can print within the States? I had some ideas for you there. Or what information you need? They're not hoarding information. They're not holding on to it and saying, oh, I can't get this out because I need the edge. No, it's, a rising tide lifts all ships. Let's all get out there. And because, listen, is anybody except for a chosen few making a living off this hobby? No. Dude, no way. But if you're making joy off the hobby, right? If you're getting pleasure and fulfillment out of it, that's worth as much as anything else you can put your hands on. That is something I'd love to share with people. That's why I don't, I get a lot of questions that I field about people's Kickstarters. I get a lot of sneak peeks at new Kickstarters coming up. Look at my Kickstarter page. Let me know if you think the pricing is right or if there's anything wrong. I'll do a quick scan edit for people. I'm not looking for anything to do. I'm happy to help. I just happen to be, somebody who critiques a lot of Kickstarters over there.
Well, I heard on your podcast that apparently, is it Ken Whitman, the one that's going to ask you next to help him out?
Yeah. Without mentioning Ken.
Eric does not like this dude.
Well, Ken Whitman was nice enough to threaten me with. He's not the only one to threaten physical violence. All right, Gareth Sharker said that he would punch me in the throat.
Oh my!
I thought, that was that was a tweet. He only tweets. He doesn't actually write products that he's getting paid for prior. But Ken Whitman is also, I'm going to have the FBI is coming for you. Oh, I mean, he did so much. and the best parts though, when he threatened me, with the DCMA, the DACMA takedown, because I used his image without permission. I'm like, dude, you don't own your image. The photographer who took that picture of you, and that stock image, owns that image. And if they want to take it down, they can feel free to reach out to me.
There's also fair use. So
yep.
Yes, well, that's when I put a piece of shit over the image, and I said, hey, I've changed it to be something better. Look, your head is a piece of shit.
You could have put a little mustachio right there.
I have to give a shout out to Bad Mike, because I notice he loves to throw that name out and get you going sometimes.
Oh yeah,
Eric.
Oh yeah. I need to work up Eric. Hey, Gareth,
Ken Whitman.
Gareth or Ken Whitman? Which one do we need this time? How about we go for it?
And Tavern Chat, there's two ways to get Eric to talk a lot. Mm-hmm. His time as a cop and Ken Whitman. Those are the two subjects right there.
I'm sure Gareth. Yeah. But listen, I figure I know I'm doing something right if I've been threatened with legal action more than a half dozen times by recognizable names within the industry, and nobody ever went through with it. They were all, and that just some of it's the arrogance of I'm a certain name, and you put something up that I didn't like. Didn't make me look good, and I'm going to threaten you with legal action.
Question:
If you really thought it was legitimate legal action, it would have been followed up with a letter from a lawyer. So,
was Whitman the one that was doing? I think you mentioned this. I remember I was excited about possibly back in the Knights of the Dinner Table television series they were going to do?
Yeah, it's a nice live action. The live action.
That sounded cool. I never did, but I don't know what happened to it. It's like it disappeared.
Okay. All right. I don't know. All right. I don't. Let's see how quickly I can tell this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No. I'm going to tell the long story very short. Basically, the Johnny Blackburn, against his own instinct, because Ken had burned people before, including Jolly. Ken asked because listen, Ken Whitman is nothing else but very charismatic. Ken Whitman, and it has the equivalent of a 19 charisma. He has that automatic charm.
Gotcha.
The first time you see him, and then the second time you see him, it's like a fucking 4. But when it comes to Ken, he's also very involved in the movie industry, or at least he believes he is, and it's his passion. Not going to take away from the man's passion. So he pitched the idea, they went with it, and actually things started out well until they went south. And really the biggest sign that things were going south was when it was supposed to premiere at Gen Con, and there was supposed to be a party, and all these people had paid for stuff, and Ken never even made reservations for the party initially.
Oh, really? Holy crap!
Now, there were other signs. Ken was running multiple Kickstarters, some consecutively, then some one after the other, showing pictures of himself on a cruise. As all this money is coming in, and nothing's coming out because he had more than one Kickstarter going. He had Pencil Dice and another Pencil Dice. Maybe 3 Pencil Dice.
These all fell through. All Kickstarters fall through.
Oh yeah, nobody got dick. Everybody got dicked. All right, let's put it that way. So, long story short, basically, Ken it's Kickstarter, right? So you don't really default on anything as long as you say you didn't default on it. So Ken kept on saying it. Basically, the video is in the mail. The video's coming. I'm working on it. Then it became radio silence until somebody, a gentleman named Louis Desi, took Kenny to small claims court. And took Kenny to small claims court, and Kenny had to come to the point where he could no longer lie. And in court, had to say, or I'm not saying, all right, maybe that's too strong a phrase. I'm not saying that Kenny is not. Kenny said under oath that there was no video, that it was on a hard drive that was stored at his friend's barn when Mrs. O'Leary's cow kicked over the kerosene lamp, and I'm embellishing a bit, but kicked over the kerosene lamp, burning the barn down, or maybe not the whole barn down, but burning up the hard drive.
Who would store a hard drive in a barn?
Well, nobody. He's a liar.
Oh my God.
Well, Ken at that point was likely couch surfing. And he probably did not have a regular domicile at that point. So that is quasi theoretically possible.
Okay.
Here's the issue. All right. In the meantime, they did have some low resolution proofs of the missing footage, which another company, God, I can't remember who it was, but they're pretty big on doing like little YouTube movies and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. They stepped up, Zombie Orifice, whatever. They stepped up. They put it together. Wasn't the highest quality, but it was the actual production of what they had. They did a great job with it, and it got to the backers. So now, here's the kicker on this. This is after Ken stated in a sworn statement that everything went up in the barn that burned down, or at least burned the hard drive.
The computer barn.
Oh my God! Can you believe it? I found the missing footage. I can't believe it. Hey, Jolly, Kenzuko, I found the missing footage. Do you think that you'll renew my license so I can complete this? Because the license was expired. He couldn't do anything with it. And I was nervous, not as a backer, I didn't back it, but as just somebody I consider, people involved in this project to be well, close acquaintances or friends of mine.
Oh,
This is like the fucking. You just want to take a bullet out and put this whole concept to bed,
right.
dead. And
Kentrico didn't take him up on it, did they?
No. I actually, I think that they left Ken in suspense for a day and a half, which of course left the community in suspense for a day and a half before reminding Ken that we did actually finish this with another production company, and they did actually take the proofs and they did release it. And we don't need the footage that you have, and no, you're not getting a license. Now, if you ask me why, Ken was looking at another way to make some quick bucks. When Ken when his Kickstarter schemes fell apart, he was running. There was a comic book gaming store fiasco with him. So Ken had a one-shot part, non-speaking role in The Walking Dead. He was the pickaxe, I don't know, doucheman or something like that, in the background of a shot.
A zombie.
He was one of the bad guys.
Oh, okay.
He was a zombie. So, but he wanted to play that in something big. So then at his shop, somebody is selling like one of the characters' boots. So. Everybody's telling me about this. I'm like, really? And I'm looking at this stuff, and he's going to be doing like bidding on it, and I'm like, that certificate of authenticity. I know that company. I think it was MCG. I have coins that have the certificate of authenticity from this company, has graded them, and I was like, they always had the hologram on them. That certificate doesn't look like it has a hologram.
Oh, boy.
So then somebody else decided to forward it to the MCG and say, hey, is this a legitimate certificate of authenticity? And their response was basically, we don't know where that certificate came from, but it wasn't from us.
Mm-hmm.
In which case, Ken was like, I don't know what you got to talk about. It's legit, but I'm going to withdraw it now to find a different buyer who could pay the proper price. It's like, you're just a dick.
Oh, he's a scam artist. That's what it sounds like anyway.
Well, he's not an artiste because he fails more often than he succeeds at this point. But that's because, and it's not just me. There's a whole website devoted to Ken out there.
Really?
Not Another Dime. Look up Not Another Dime. It's a blog spot. It's a blog that's through. And I listen. Why do I talk about it? I am not the owner of the site. The owner of the site is not identified. However, I do know the owner of the site, and I do have blogging privileges, posting privileges too. So, Not Another Dime. If you want to really dig deep into the rabbit hole of Ken Whitman, actor, producer, grifter,
scumbag sounds like.
Quite allegedly. See, now with Ken, allegedly, just like allegedly had the FBI waiting for me at my door, and they were going to arrest me, and I was like, and this is all public communication going back and forth, me and Ken on I think it was Facebook. And I'm like, so Ken, when they're there, should I bring imaginary tea and crumpets to meet the imaginary FBI as I show them my legitimate identification and shield as a police sergeant, and we discuss how you grifted people in this hobby?
I know where he got that particular scam from.
Really?
The FBI part, at least. There's a Social Security telephone scam.
Oh yeah,
yeah. Well, so then they scare people into giving them money by telling them that the FBI is going to be knocking on their door in 25 minutes if they don't do it right now.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. And of course, literally 2 weeks after that scam, and my phone's like, "Oh, I knew it was fake." I'm like, "Okay, good." 2 weeks later, I get home. It's a two-family home. I get home from work, and my phone's like, "You won't believe who was here." I go, "Who was here?" The FBI. I go, "What?" No, it was literally two agents from the FBI. Apparently, one of the neighbors around the block was picked up on charges they couldn't discuss, but they wanted to know if we knew anything about them.
Oh, okay.
I was like, "Holy shit!"
Maybe Ken's got power. Ken's got real power.
Yeah, Ken has not so imaginary FBI at the door, but yeah, it was interesting. Holy shit! We are knocking on 2 hours.
Whoa!
Wow!
Good company. Good company.
You know,
don't know how long your podcasts normally go, but
Yeah, we go along about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
They tried to go after Ken, but he got away because he threw pencil dice in their face and they were confused, and he got away.
What are pencil dice?
Pencil dice were I think it's pencil dice. The whole concept, I think, comes from the correctional system, where you can't have dice, but you can have pencils with 6 sides, so you can turn pencils into dice.
Oh man!
20-sided dice.
No, 6-sided dice. Initially, it was going to be pipped dice.
Okay.
So you have your dice with 1 to 6 pips per side, but then he was going to license. So he was going to have like traveler pencil dice, spin word. Oh my god!
They've got weird dice like that already, where they're basically sticks that you spin. I mean, I don't know if they call them that, but that's what
One
they
of
look
those
like.
little top thingies that are different. Yeah.
So yeah. He tried. He had a Kickstarter. Do you remember when you were kids and you had the Pop-O-Matics for like Trouble? You had the dice.
Yeah.
Somehow Ken got, I guess, on an aftermarket. Some game publisher must have gone under. He was trying to kickstart this brand new concept of dice that will pop. But they're only D6s. Pip.
Oh my god!
So Kickstarter actually shut that one down because it wasn't a new item.
Yeah.
He was just so. That's my wife in the background. We're just hearing the shit.
What a trifling troll.
He's a trifling troll, I tell you. Fuck himself in his pie hole.
Oh, tell us how you really feel, Eric.
Listen, I'm channeling my wife. She's Irish American. She gets to say more colorful words than I do. I'm stuck with like the vernacular of a New York City cop, which means everything I have to say will be followed by fuck. Or as my son, when I caught him dropping the F-bomb and he was 10.
Oh boy.
We were all together. And I was like, dude, what the hell? You're 10. You can't talk like that. And I go, what are you going to say when people ask you where you learned that language? And he goes, he goes, well, if they ask me where I learned the word, I'll say my mother. All right. I was like, really? He goes, but if they ask me how I learned how to use it, my dad, because nobody curses like you.
I got my fluency from my dad. Nice.
Can't fucking argue with that, can I?
No.
So,
by the way, you're watching Dungeons, Dragons, and Discourse, Triple D.
Yeah, I think that's great. That's a good name. I love that name.
Well, listen, we've been joined by Biggus Geekus for the last literally 2 hours.
Yeah.
2 minutes. Holy shit. Time does fly. This was, and as much as they try to claim they're not old school gamers, and they aren't, listen, you can play old school games and still play 5e. It is not mutually exclusive.
Okay.
You don't have to cut off a testicle to do so. You can actually be in both.
Because I've only got 2, Eric. I can't afford it.
I think the current 5e rules might encourage the cutting off of a testicle.
Oh, Joe. 5e's all right.
By the way, I want
not the ones in print. We're talking about updated files that you're going to find online. Perhaps. You know what? That could have been a ritual in one of the older OSR games. Oh God, which one? Spellfire. There was one that had some weird rituals in it. I got to dig it up and talk about it. It might actually include cutting off a testicle. Now, if I had to cut them off, I would volunteer Ken. Just
you could play test that. Ken could play test
he
that.
Tell us what he thought. Huge ones. I'm sure he could give up one. I really think, just as you know, folks, yes, if you're under the age of 13, you probably shouldn't be listening to Talking Crit or Tavern Chat or any.
The show came this close. They wouldn't let me call it Crit Your Pants.
Oh, that's an excellent name.
That's a great one.
It is. It would have killed the listeners. I'm sorry.
Really? But you do Talking Crit with Mike. That would have been great.
No, yeah. Talking Crit was Mike's idea, man. That was a great title for that.
That was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to thank those guys. All right.
That's me. That's me.
Oh,
the other one was shit my players do. Or crit my players do.
There you go.
My players do in their pants. But
oh my.
I'm
Getting late.
covering my face right now because
Good night, folks.
good night. Goodbye, folks. Thank you very much for joining.
Thanks for having us, guys. I've thoroughly enjoyed this.
This has been a lot of fun.
A lot of fun.
Yes, yeah. We got to do this again.
Absolutely.
And all because somebody decided to call the show and say, I got questions about the OSO. Fuck.
Yeah. Come on. It's your job to answer them.
Here's what happened. You messaged me and Eric to listen to that show. And all through the show, I kept thinking I was on the show trying to answer you. And trying to what it was. And it's like, oh, wait a minute. Never mind. Just listen to this.
That's too good answer. We just should merge the two.
Yeah,
that works. But no. And I'll be honest with you. Again, this format,
thanks, David,
is a great format, man, because just so you folks listening at home know, before the show, we spent about 20, 25 minutes bullshitting.
Yeah,
we didn't do show prep. We didn't say, whoa, make sure you send them to the Biggus Geekus podcast.
Yeah.
No.
But we are now.
We are now. But we didn't discuss it.
Come to us. Come.
It was going into your local pub, seeing somebody new you haven't seen there before, start talking, and once you're on your second beer, which I have finished, you realize that you've bonded and made friends. And again, are they necessarily old school gamers? Yeah. Are they new school gamers? Yeah. You know what?
We do it all.
I would gladly play a session of 5e. I just don't have the energy to learn the rules well enough to run it. And I think that's for a lot of people out there.
Joe says that.
I told a guy the other day, I said, I'll play. I'm not running.
Yeah.
I'm not going to buy. I've got the player's handbook because my wife bought it. I'm not buying any of their stuff. Player's handbook is good enough.
Well, I'm not ashamed to say that I don't want to put the money out for it.
No, I'm not either.
Yeah,
I've already got all these other games that I've got. What do I need to spend? And $50 a book, come on.
Right.
You're not talking Amazon, you dumb fuck. If at least if you're gonna say I don't want to spend $50, say I don't want to spend $32.60 on Amazon for it, because that's the price you're gonna spend if you really don't want to support the company. All right, I don't want to
support your game store.
Listen, if you want to put the least amount of money in Witches of the Coast pocket, you're gonna buy it from Amazon
or eBay, or buy it from eBay.
Yeah, or eBay.
True.
Buy somebody's used copy. You might get one they snotted into, but at least you know that it was.
What's a little snot? Come on.
This here costs $70, and I get more play out of this than I will out of any $50 WotC book.
I will tell Jeff that personally next time I see him. I won't see him at TotalCon this year, but I'll probably see him. Jeff Talenian.
Oh, Jeff, yeah. I love Jeff. He's a great guy.
Is he the writer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Jeff is really good people.
Yeah.
Jeff's daughter is the reason why I had to clean up my act at ChireCon last year. Yeah, Dad. He didn't curse much at all.
Uh-oh.
By the way, if you don't want the print copy of this, tell the folks out there too, drive through for $20. You can get a PDF.
What do you think of that, Joe? I've thought about that.
That is because that's one of the exceptions in the movement where it's not that's an expensive book. Most of them aren't, but of all of the ones I've seen so far, to me, because I'm into the Conan and John Carter of Mars type of heroic adventure, and it is.
Weird fantasy.
Yeah. Cthulhu, a whole mix of good stuff.
I've gotten my money out of this like several times over.
Cool.
The PDF goes on sale frequently over at drive-thru. It's often it's 25 or 30% off, so you can get it for as low as like 14. If you're not rushing to get it, I'm just saying it comes up on sale often. You got to check their sale prices.
Do you know if Jeff, if you buy it directly from his store, if somebody has a store, or is it just through drive-through? If you buy that book, will you get the PDF for free? A lot of companies do.
I am pretty sure if you buy the book from him directly, you get it for free. But I'm not 100% sure.
Okay,
but
I'll look into it.
And Jeff he also has a player's version of this.
Yeah, it's half the book. It's just for the players.
Right, so your players don't have to bog themselves down with stuff they're not going to use.
Cool.
This is over 600 pages, right? Believe it or not.
Oh, wow. That's a big book.
I actually have a book that's bigger than this.
Whoa. Yeah, it's very 1E, right? Kind of 1E like.
It is very one. It is definitely 1E based with if 1E was based on a Conan, more on Conan and less on
Clark Ashton Smith, Lovecraft, Howard, that
just
kind of
have
stuff.
humans, right?
It's all human.
It's really, really well done. Jeff has done a great job with it, and if you meet him at he's a nice guy, and he's
26 classes.
26. Whoa.
Yeah. You meet Jeff, and you're like, you see his face. You see Jeff's face, and you're like, oh, he looks so sweet. And then you see him like take his shirt off, and you're like, holy crap,
ripped.
He could pound me into the dirt. And he's just like, hey, how you doing? It's like, oh my God.
Why would you ever see him with his shirt off? That's kind of weird.
Eric's got a thing. Don't forget about the one guy. Who's the one who's Spawn? James Spawn was shirtless. I think it's a rule. Should I meet Eric at a convention?
That's two guys tonight. I'm
taking my shirt off
the shirt
as soon as I see Eric. You're going to see my flappy.
It's a thing.
Listen, I've already seen Bad Mike get violated at a convention, so I don't need to see anything else.
That's three.
I'm scarred for life.
You must have some kind of thing going on there, dude.
You go to enough conventions, you're gonna. It's like going to Vegas.
What happens at Gen Con stays at Gen Con, baby.
There you go.
Oh, sweet. Oh, Dave Betsick said that it's sold out. Sad. And my wife said she'd rather me spend $50 on a book than bar drinking with my buddies. And that's okay because I don't drink. So yeah, sweet. Thanks, hon.
I'll get the PDF.
New book coming.
Damn COVID.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you the one thing that this game does that points up why I don't like 5e is I always said there's too many bells and whistles. Too many, because the players, they can have all these abilities and special abilities and extra attacks and all this other stuff. I've seen players just, okay, you're up. Well, I'm going to do this, and my head just spins after a while, And
we're planning on doing a late 5e review, actually, Glenn, soon. We're going to have another friend of ours come on who loves it, and I kind of love it. Joe kind of doesn't like it, and clearly you don't like it much.
Counterpoint. I like that.
Yeah, we're going to do that. It'll be fun. But good argument. We have a good time.
Oh, I did that. I did. Remember this? Hey, remember the Spellburn podcast for DCC? Mm-hmm. Jim brought me on the show because I don't like DCC. He said, we're tired of preaching to the choir. We want a guy on here to see if we can convince him to like it.
They don't like the funnel,
but I hope they like it a different way.
I love the funnel. Here's my thing with DCC, real quick, and I'm going to probably.
I don't like the dice.
The dice are but my thing with DCC is when I read the beta rules, I thought, oh my God, this thing is horrible. And then I got the full release of the rules. I went, oh my God, this is good shit. I was really happy with it. And I enjoyed the funnel, and I have actually run the funnel with Swords and Wizardry. It's a great concept. However, I don't like that. I know how I complained about the swinginess of the rules as you go up in level in AD&D, and as a game master, it kind of breaks down when you hit maybe like name level. It kind of becomes you need a smaller group. DCC to me is very much like that, but much earlier. Because the spells are so all over the fucking place, you can't predict with any
crit tables for every spell are insane.
Oh yeah. So
looks cool.
What I do, but the adventures are amazing. So I've run the adventures, converting on the fly with Swords and Wizardry.
Cool.
And if you're a DM, You can infer that from whatever you're saying. That system doesn't matter. I could be take Trolls and Trolls and convert it to Swords of Trying to Fly.
I think with DCC, I bought the book and just fell in love with the way it looked.
Oh, Doug Kovacs, the artist. I love Doug. Although Doug was what was his great comment to me besides the if I didn't already know you, I wouldn't like you because you're a fucking cop. But I know you.
Wow.
And I like you. And the other comment one time was I was talking with him and he goes, I really enjoy our conversations, but Rachel listens.
You say, well, Doug, you just haven't seen me with my shirt off. You need to see me with my shirt off.
Yeah.
That'll change
So
everything.
yeah, well, it was like, oh, Doug, so you'd rather be talking to my wife than me. I understand that. I probably would rather that too. I mean, if I was you, but all right. On that note, just say there, Glenn. I think we've hit a new live stream record, 2 hours, 15 minutes.
All right.
I can't believe it. Great guests, Biggus Geekus. You're gonna find them on Anchor or wherever you find this podcast. You can find Glenn on Anchor. Glenn, you still doing YouTubes? Oh, he dropped.
He left us, man.
He's out.
He left. He's out. Now we start the real podcast.
Yeah.
Glenn, guy, I tell you what.
Break out the bombs.
Then the guy be like, wait a second, you kept it going after I left? Because we love you, Glenn. We love you. Really, this has been a good time, man.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having us, Eric. We loved it.
I
did.
Especially in the in the world of COVID, when you can't go out and socialize, having a good time that's relaxed. Nobody's like, I gotta put on a certain act and look cool. No. Well, first off, I know I don't look cool anyway. I mean, look at the fucking hair I got.
No danger here, bud.
I've got COVID hair, and I've had my mother cut it twice since COVID started. So that already tells you. When I finally go back to my barber, you'd be like, "Who the fuck?" Glenn is just like,
"Hey, Glenn coming back? Yeah, there he is."
Glenn came back just in time for.
How are we going to top this show? That's what I want to know.
I don't know, but just you dropping out and dropping back in.
That was the best, dude.
Is untoppable.
It just went.
Oh God.
All right.
It's like what?
Yep. Thank you both. Although it is the guys at Biggus Geekus, it is only two. All right. It could seem like more. We might think it's more.
We're that big.
We are. We're just that big. We actually count for like 4 guys.
I definitely eat for 2 or 3.
These guys might hang around, in the future. So.
Okay.
So thanks to Randy and those guys.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you.
As I always tell you, folks, we are still in the midst of the world of COVID. Nobody here is a medical professional. It's not that I know of. And if they are, shut your mouth. We're not giving you medical advice. But use your common sense. You always claim that your PCs have common sense. My character wouldn't do that. Well, guess what? Use your common sense in the world of COVID. All right? It's a skill that most of us have. And be safe, be well. God bless for all those dice. And
Randy and Joe, those guys. Pardon.
Yes, Randy and Joe, those guys.
Joe, those guys hard.
Don't forget Joe, those guys. It's his full last name. Joe, those guys. All right, folks. On that note, catch you later. And